Baltimore Ravens might be missing some key players this Monday night. We'll talk about who might be out, who would step up in their place, and what this means for the game. And then also we heard some passionate words from Justin Tucker on his recent struggles. We'll dive into all that and more in today's episode of the Flock Rundown.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.
Appreciate you, Ray. What's up, Ravens fans? My name is Ryan, and welcome back to another episode of the Flock Rundown. So we got some key players out of practice again. I didn't talk too much about it yesterday because I wanted to see how this practice report is playing out. But Roquan Smith is out again with that hamstring. Nelson Aguilar was a new miss. Arthur Millette still out. Sanusi Kane still out. And Travis Jones out again. Some key players missing practice. Travis Jones has missed the majority of practices throughout the week, still dealing with that ankle. So we'll see how that plays out. He did come out of that Pittsburgh game. He was in and out. And I think that ankle is definitely bothering him. So I would not be surprised if he does sit. They haven't really rested that ankle too much. And they've been trying to give him a lot of days off in practice, but it seems to be still lingering, and it's really not going to go away. If you've ever had a bad ankle sprain, the worst thing you can do is, a couple times a week go out there and run on it and cut on it, and especially with all that weight that Travis Jones is carrying, I really don't see this ankle injury healing up until possibly after the bye week, but he just needs rest to really get through this ankle injury, and it might be this week since he kind of re-aggravated in that Steelers game, and he's missing practice again. We'll monitor the practice report, obviously, over the next few days, but it definitely is a strong possibility that Travis Jones is not going on Monday night. And then same with Roquan Smith with the hamstring. We saw him try to come back in the Steelers game, and he just couldn't do it. And now he's missing back-to-back practices. Hamstrings do not go away quickly either, so I would not be shocked if Roquan Smith is not playing Monday night. And that's a massive loss for this defense. I mean, he wears the green dot. He is the communicator of the defense. I would imagine that those duties would then go to Kyle Hamilton, who I know would do a good job. I'm not worried about, the green dot scenario, but losing Roquan in the middle of the field is bad for the run game. It's bad for the pass game in the middle of the field, because I know we've been getting on Roquan about his speed and coverage and whatnot, but he's the smartest linebacker in coverage. I'm not saying that he's the quickest. I would say Trenton Simpson has more natural speed and talent there, but he doesn't play the position as disciplined as Roquan. Roquan is disciplined in coverage and plays his assignment, and I just don't see that as much with Trenton Simpson, and especially not with Malik Harrison, who I would assume would replace Roquan. So you're losing a little bit of edge depth there. Do we see a Jabo finally get activated? Is Adisa Isaac activated again? We saw a little bit of him last week, so we're going to need to replace an edge setter, and then Malik Harrison most likely fills in for Roquan, I would assume, but that is definitely a downgrade. Don't forget, we got Kyle Hamilton playing deep now, which I think already makes the run game a little bit more vulnerable, and then you pluck Roquan Smith out of there. I would not be surprised if Greg Roman and the Chargers and J.K. Dobbins are able to run the ball a little bit against Baltimore. I mean, we saw when Roquan went out last week, the Steelers were able to keep running the ball and sustain drives. So that is not something I'm looking forward to. I think the run game does take a step back, but I think the middle of the field coverage takes a big step back without Roquan. And Malik Harrison is slower, so you get a lack of experience in coverage and you get a slower player in for Roquan. I think he'll be okay in the run game, but I think that coverage in the middle of the field is going to suffer quite a bit if Roquan is not there, and our defense overall just takes a step back, which makes sense. I mean, Roquan's a $20 million man out there. I know he's not been perfect this season. He's not played his best ball, but he does make an impact on our defense, and we'll notice it when he's not in there. So not looking forward to that. I think our offense is definitely going to have to put up some points on Monday night, and we might not see the greatest defensive performance without Roquan Smith out there. A surprise absence in practice today was Nelson Aguilar. I'm not sure of the severity of the injury, but if he does not go Monday, I would imagine this is a big boost for Diontae Johnson. We haven't seen Diontae Johnson get very involved at all, and I know he doesn't have the same chemistry or probably even understand the offense as well as Nelson Aguilar does, but I think from a talent perspective, this is an upgrade. I wouldn't mind seeing more of Diontae Johnson in this offense. I think the Ravens offense can have a lot of success on Monday. I know the Chargers have a high-ranked defense statistically, but they love to play a lot of zone coverage, and the Ravens are going to attack that. They are going to eat, man. I'm telling you right now, the Ravens offense is going to put up some points on Monday night. Not only is it prime time when the Ravens always seem to go off, Lamar Jackson is notorious for having his Jackson 5s in primetime football in LA. So I really think Diontae Johnson having an increased role on this offense is only a net positive. We really just haven't seen a lot of him, and he hasn't been out there a ton. But with a guy like Nelson Aguilar missing time potentially, that is definitely going to get filled by Diontae Johnson. I'm excited to see how that plays out, if that is to happen. I'll dive into a lot more details about this matchup during the game preview episode, but I really think that this is shaping up for the Ravens offense to kind of have to carry again. Not that the Ravens defense is going to play bad. I don't think the Chargers have the most explosive offense. I just think that the Ravens defense could take a little bit of a step back without guys like Roquan and Travis Jones. I mean, those are huge pieces to our run game and to the middle of the field coverage. So I would imagine the Chargers are able to run the ball with some success, which is what they want to do. I mean, it's a Greg Roman offense. Come on, man. J.K. Dobbins definitely wants to get some revenge on the Ravens too. So I think the Chargers are going to be able to run the ball, man. They're definitely going to surpass 100 yards rushing without guys like Travis Jones and Roquan in there. And we're just going to have to make sure that we contain it and outscore them on offense. I think that's really going to be how that game plays out. Is Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, this entire offense is going to have to put up some points. But I do think that the Chargers defense is the type of defense that we will have success against. Moving on to a different topic, there's been a ton of talk about Justin Tucker's struggles this season for good reason, especially after that Steelers game where it was really magnified because his 2 missed field goals was the point differential in that game. And he had some passionate words, man. I could sense the frustration and fire from him when he was speaking to the media yesterday. Let's play the clip.
Yeah, I mean, I do take it very personally. Anytime I leave a kick out there, it bothers me. For all the fans, supporters, coaches, players, anybody that cares about Ravens football. Believe me when I say nobody takes it more personally than I do. Nobody is more affected than me when I miss a kick. So, yeah, I take it really personally. At the exact same time, my particular line of work requires, in my opinion, that I compartmentalize my feelings and I leave them to the side and I focus on the action of kicking the ball and not the consequence. So as difficult as that may be at times, that is the challenge that I'm facing right now. That's my only option, is just continue to work and focus on the action, focus on the process, and let the results take care of themselves after just putting in the work.
Now, what he said is not super surprising. He's saying the right things, and I think it makes a lot of sense. But what I really thought was interesting about this was you could feel the frustration, man. He almost got annoyed with the question. He's just like, you think that this fan base doesn't take it more personal than me? I take it more personal than anybody. I could feel the anger and passion, and I don't know if that's a net positive or a net negative. I guess we'll see. I think he's always been uber competitive and one of the most competitive guys out there, and that's the reason for his success. You can't be that successful and not be competitive. If you don't really care, you're just not going to be that successful. So I think he's always cared this deeply, but now that it's going a little bit against him and the questions week after week just keep coming to him, like, what is it? Is it the holder? Is it Stout? Is it the snap? Is it you over kicking, and why are they all going left? He's just constantly getting bombarded with questions, and I finally felt the frustration from him. I think he is very frustrated himself, and hopefully he can channel that energy into kicking a straight ball and getting this corrected. I hope that this doesn't kind of mess with his mental and, he stops taking each kick as its own kick, because that is pretty easy to do, I would imagine. He's talked many times how each kick lives in its own world. There's field conditions, there's wind, there's a slightly different snap every time, there's a slightly different hold position every time. Everything is different for every single kick, and you have to approach every kick as its own kick. But what happens when it starts weighing on your mind, like, we can't miss this one, man. We're in a funk, like, what is going on? Where you're questioning your own technique and you're starting to kind of overcorrect and do things like that. That's what I'm kind of hoping that he doesn't fall into. And I think that Tucker has proven to us that he does have a really strong mind, but we haven't seen a slump like this. So it's actually very interesting to see how he's going to come out on the other side. So Tucker's in a unique position for himself. It's not like other kickers haven't battled through slumps, but he really hasn't had to. And now he is officially in a slump. We can definitely say that this entire year has been Tucker's worst year. But how's he come out on the other side? Because that's all that really matters at the end of the day. You know what I mean? We all go through little slumps in life, and there's definitely years that you perform better than other years. I mean, that's just the reality of it. But you got to rebound. You know what I mean? He's not over the hill. He's not washed, in my opinion. I've seen a lot of comments like that saying he's just done, cut him, blah, blah, blah. I don't believe that yet. I believe that Justin Tucker is the greatest kicker to ever kick a football, and he's going to come out on the other end of this first slump and go on another historic run for the next few years. I really believe that. I don't think that he's done for his entire career. I think this is a bump in the road, and it could be all year long. I'm not saying that, it's going to get fixed next week. I just think when you look at Tucker's entire career at the end of the day, whenever he decides to retire, and you just take 2024, I think that that's just going to be a bump in the road. I don't think that 2024 is the cliff and it's just all downhill from there. I think Tucker's the type of guy that can figure it out, can get back in a groove and get going at a really high level. But that's it for today, guys. Let me know what you think about the potential absences for the Ravens. How big of a loss is Travis Jones and Roquan Smith for this defense in your opinion? Does Nelson Aguilar miss and Diontae Johnson have more of a role come Monday night? And do you think Tucker is going to rebound out of this slump? I appreciate you guys, as always, for tuning in to another episode of the Flock Rundown. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll let the greatest linebacker in the history of the game take us out.
Ravens Flock. The Flock Rundown is the place to be. My man Ryan has been a lifelong Ravens fan since he was born. The Flock Rundown. Nothing gets better than waking up and wondering how high we can fly. Tune in.
Motionless brainwaves attempt to swim their way to sense, can't tame the untamed.